Good evening to each and everyone gathered here. For today's event, we have with us our CIO, Mr. Sunil Damania, where he will discuss whether inflation has peaked or not, and will also share his trajectory on inflation. Drop your questions in the Q&A box below the video on any concerns you may have, and your panelist will answer them. Over to you, Mr. Sunil.
Thanks a lot, Adrian, and very warm welcome all of you. We are on the eve of Independence Day, and let me wish everyone a very happy Independence Day. I hope you are hosting a tricolor outside your home. In case if you are not, I would sincerely urge all of you to do that because Har Ghar Tiranga, uh, uh, it's a very good move. And in fact, the kind of activity and festivity around it, I think makes me really proud that India has achieved a lot in 75 years and we more needs to be achieved as we go along. Now, today topic, normally we don't do any topic on Sunday, but a lot of you people suggested that since it's a long weekend and it's a good opportunity for us to attend your webinar because of your busy schedule, you are not able to take time out and able to attend our webinar. We thought use this long weekend as a good opportunity to interact with you people and touch upon some of the most important topic that every one of us are concerned about, and that's inflation. So when I interact with either economist or a fund manager or an analyst or an investor, the in our topic, in our discussion, not a single time the word inflation is not cropped up. Everyone is talking about inflation. And I think that's bothering not only in India, but globally about the inflation. And I think that's one word which could decide what could be the trajectory of equity returns. It's mainly driven by the inflation expectation or the belief which way inflation is going to move going forward. I must tell you that most of the central banks across the world have been making us believe that inflation is more of a transient. And suddenly, somewhere by first quarter of 2022, they realized that inflation is no longer a transient, but is going to remain more persistent. And that's one of the reasons they started taking action in terms of curtailing the inflation. Now, the news flow has been that inflation has been, has gone a little soft, and which I'm going to cover in my presentation. But the moot point that everyone still bothers, and if you happen to read some of the articles which is available on various leading international publications relating to the economics and finance, the house is divided. I must tell you that. There is a one school of thought which believes that the inflation trajectory is going to remain now downward. There is another school of thought in which says that, and you know, people will analyze statistics to such an extent, they will torture numbers to such an extent that they will start confessing that kind of stuff. And another school of thought, economist or an expert believes that the inflation has not yet peaked and is going to remain at the elevated level, and then they will come up with the median inflation and whatnot data to prove their point. Okay, so I'm going to discuss in detail what is our sense on inflation. If you remember, time and again we discuss about inflation. Markets Mojo was the only research house in the country which had predicted very correctly that inflation is it's not a transient. So we were against the general consensus. We were suggesting that it's going to be more persistent. And I'm not talking about now. If you read my quote I have given to Business Today in January 2021, it's almost now 20 months back. And at that point of time, I did mention that inflation is going to come back and it's going to come back very, very strongly. And one of the reasons for me to believe that inflation will come back very strongly was the very simple reason: the money that has been pumped by the central banks, which could disturb the demand supply situation, it was no brainer at that point of time. And when the journal asked me why you are against the general trend, and I said, I will speak what I believe is right. So I don't go with the herd mentality because others are saying, I must also say the same thing. So that's what has happened. So today I'm going to discuss and reveal what I personally feel how the inflation is going to move. And I'm going to discuss about two things. How do I see inflation in India and how do I see inflation in the developed world? So, but before I begin my webinar, just a small disclaimer that this webinar is only for an education purpose. Whenever you invest in the equity market, it does carry a little higher amount of risk, and past performance should not be construed as an indicator for the future returns. So, as you know, that Markets Mojo believes in transparency and sharing knowledge with our stakeholders at regular intervals so that nothing should come as a surprise to all of you. And as a part of this transparency and honesty, I must share with you what are we planning to do next so that you being a stakeholder, equal stakeholder in our journey, appreciate and also help us to guide what we should be doing and what we should not be doing going forward. So Markets Mojo now have a two website, and basically we have taken a conscious call that Markets Mojo will be a stock advisory platform where you do it yourself. So you come to the Markets Mojo, take research, and act on based on your own understanding. While Mojo Infinity will be, we will do it for you. Okay, it's a more of an assets advisory. So there are two platforms that investors would have from the stable of Markets Mojo, marketsmojo.com and mojoinfinity.com. Stock advisory and asset advisory. Why am I discussing with you? There is a reason why I'm discussing with you. So Markets Mojo would run on a subscription model, okay, where you pay for the subscription and you enjoy everything on Markets Mojo website except model portfolio and the portfolio plan. That's not the part of that. So that will, we have taken away. In fact, if you remember, we have already taken away that from the part of Mojo Professional Service. Now that will go under Mojo Infinity. So what would have Mojo Infinity going forward? Infinity portfolio, that is power and soul, then model portfolio and the portfolio optimizer. So stock advisory, assets advisory. So that's a kind of realignment that we are doing for our benefit of our investors, so they clearly understand how to use each platform to the best so that they can maximize the gain from it. As I was explaining you, the Markets Mojo would be a subscription-based service where you pay, which price would be 23,999 for 2 years, which will not include model portfolio and optimizer, while model portfolio will come down to Mojo Infinity, where we would charge 2% per annum for the model portfolio. Okay, so that's how it's going to, realignment is going to happen to you. Now, if you are an existing Mojo Professional members, you don't have to get worried about it. Why? Because you will continue to enjoy all the benefits of model portfolio and portfolio optimizer till your subscription expires. So, आपकी life set है जब तक आपका subscription है, okay? But your subscription is about to expire very soon, then I think you have a reasons to worry. Why? Because either you extend your subscription or, but you will ask how, that I'll come to that. Or then to enjoy portfolio optimizer and model portfolio, you need to pay 2% fees on that. So what is the next step that we are doing? Before I discuss more about how you can extend your subscription and how you can become a part of Mojo Professional and how we have an independent offer today for all of you, let me tell you what we have plans are so you get a perspective and the larger picture very well. Markets Mojo is planning a broking license where there is a good news for all of you. And Mojo Infinity, we will start with PMS, then AMC and wealth management. So wealth management and AMC, the order could be a little different. First, definitely PMS, and depending upon how the situation, how the business environment, and we decide whether we should go with wealth management first and AMC later, or AMC first and wealth management, or we start simultaneously AMC and wealth management. Of course, this is subject to a regulatory approval, and we are planning to do this services, start offering these services in next 12 months, depending upon when we get what approval. So as a Mojo professional member, what are the benefit you will get it? If you are a Mojo professional member, the first time in the history of the world, the broking will become zero in real sense. You don't have to pay anything for FNO. You don't have to pay anything for delivery. You don't have to pay anything for intraday. In real sense, it would be zero. As long as you are a Mojo professional member, it would be free for you. So suppose if you are a Mojo professional member till 2026, so the day we start our broking service, till 2026, you don't have to pay anything for the broking services. So it's a free. Post that, depending upon the broking fee. As far as the model portfolio is concerned, you continue to enjoy till your subscription is there without paying anything. Post that, you have to pay 2% of your model portfolio value. Okay, so this is one. For Infinity members, you would have PMS for power and soul 1% every 6 months. Only and only if after 6 months your portfolio is higher than the previous 6 months portfolio value plus the fees that you have paid. Model portfolio 2% per annum. So if you have 10 lakhs portfolio, model portfolio, 2% of that you have to pay 20,000. And the new investors after PMS, that will be whatever the price that is applicable, you have to pay for that. Now the catch is here that I must tell you. So the reason I'm telling you this because it's in your benefit to understand this. And you should understand the word after your paid membership expires that we have underlined in both the bullet points. Once your membership expires, you need to pay 2% on the model portfolio. And you also lose the benefit of enjoying zero brokerage once your membership expires. Okay, so it is in your interest to become a Mojo professional member now. Enjoy the zero brokerage as and when we launch it, number one. And number two, you don't have to pay anything for your model portfolio and portfolio optimizer. But you would come with an answer question. But there is no subscription available for the model portfolio optimizer. Yes, I must tell you that today we are offering as a part of our Independence Day offer. Okay. And what is that? It is Azadi offer that we're calling it, where you pay only 19,999 for 2 years and you get additional 6 months free. In other words, even though you pay for 24 months, you get 30 months of subscription. This includes model portfolio as well as portfolio optimizer. And at the same time, if you are a Mojo professional member, you would also get the benefit of zero broking as and when we launch it. Okay. I must tell you that this is the lowest price available only for the webinar members. If you go to our website, you will not get 19,999 for 24 months plus additional 6 months. It's only 3 months additional available. But this offer is only for the webinar members. Okay. And the beauty with this offer is that there is no restriction on you to extend unlimited time. You can extend as many times you want to do it. There is nothing that will stop you. If you want to extend for 5 times, do it. If you want to extend for 10 times, do it. If you want to extend for 20 times, you can do that. The same link will help you to keep extending n number of times. So I'll request my colleague Adrian to please drop the link that so that people can remember this is a very limited period offer. Post that in the lifetime of Markets Mojo, you will not get model portfolio and portfolio optimizer as a part of a subscription package. It's a one, you take it or leave it kind of an offer, and I don't want you to repent this. So I'll request my colleague to drop the link. With this, let me start and come back to the topic on hand. Has the inflation peaked? If you look at last 40 years, and if you ask me, inflation always is a worry for the emerging economies and the frontier economies. Europe or US में तो किसी को पड़ी नहीं थी inflation का. They took it for granted that inflation. What is inflation? If you ask some of the people, so in the US, those who have been born since after 1980 or 1981, and if you ask them, inflation, बोलते वो क्या होता है? Why? Because this was not the area of debate or topic for they were supposed to be bothered about it. And why was that? Last 40 years, the world and especially the developed world enjoyed very low inflation. It was a problem for the central banks in emerging markets and the frontier markets. Why? Because China, I think, is a one. So, the world economy become integrated. And due to that, China started supplying the cheap goods and services, and that kept the prices at the retail level very, very low. India supplied cheap labor. IT service wale sab US में जाके बैठे थे, and due to that, when your goods and services are cheaper, your labor, and we all know KPO and BPO, India was powering that, really helped to keep the cost under control. And at the same time, the world population, unfortunately, especially on the developed part, aged population. So when you age, your desire to spend money on goods and services naturally goes down. And as you grow old, your tendency is to save more and spend less. And that's further pushed down the demand. So the China, India, they really help to keep the inflation low, and demographic, where the aged population created less demand, and that really helped the developed economy to keep the inflation low. Now, this is a chart I would like you to look at it, and this is the world inflation, which you see in the gray line, the European Union in the orange line, and the blue line is for the United States. And see how inflation, which was at 14%, very close to 14% in 1980, have come off very, very significantly. And this trajectory that you can see has come down very, just see this. It's completely down. It almost remained most of the time less than 3%. If you have to look at average inflation in US in last 40 years, it was less than 3%. And in Europe, it was 3.6%. So that's a less than 4%, less than 3%. And this is a very good way to keep this. And suddenly you can see this spike that has happened. So why there is a spike? Why the inflation moved up suddenly? जो 40 साल में suddenly तो अभी क्या अचानक हो गया? I think the whole problem started with the COVID, and this is a side effect of COVID. Okay, while we saw a lot of people lost their lives, a lot of people had a lot of permanent damage to the body parts because of COVID. But the big impact that happened because of COVID is the inflation. We all know that lockdown across the world, and even a couple of months back, still it was there in China. Okay, and lockdown really impacted the supply chains across the world. And we had various issues, like Suez Canal got stuck and so and so. So one after another things keep impacting the supply chains. There was a shortage of, even today's we speak chip shortage and so on and so forth. So on one hand, the supply got blocked and chopped. And central banks, to keep the economy thriving and not to have a lot of hardship to the citizens of the respective country, they all came out with this stimulus package so that the hardship get reduced. They pumped in more money into the economy. Okay, एक साइड पे सप्लाई कम हो गया, लेकिन डिमांड तो अच्छा था because people had money, they wanted to spend. Why? Because the government was giving the money for you. So when you more money chase fewer goods, what happens? The price goes. That's a law of economics. So those who are student of economy would know that that's happened. And after going down less than zero crude oil prices, it starts surging. Now, I must tell you that there is a strong correlation, not only in India, but across the world, the correlation between the crude oil and the inflation. So, जब crude oil बढ़ता है, inflation बढ़ता है normally. But not only crude oil price went up, other metal price also went up, industrial metal. And that created huge problem for the world. Or that created more demand chasing fuel goods. And top of it, we all know what's happening across the world of heat waves, the global warming. People are little less conscious about the damage that is happening to the environment. So at some parts of the world, we are seeing droughts, and some other parts of the world, we are seeing heat waves, and that is impacting the agri output. So when agri output get impacted, what happens? The food inflation also goes up. So these are the factors that really reason what was there in the last 40 years, it suddenly got upended, and inflation started moving up. And now the question comes, what is next? ये तो हो गया अभी, होगा क्या? So has the inflation cooled off, and will it sustain? Why am I making a statement? For the very simple reason, because if you look at it, in the month of US, in the month of July, the US inflation came down from 9.1% to 8.5%. And this is still lower than what it was there in the month of May. Am I right? It is still lower than month of May. And there is a debate going on in the US that is this a new trend? Is this the new normal that we are going to go forward? But that's on the US part. But in India, the story is more positive. Why am I saying so? Because third month in a row, we have seen inflation going down. Why? 7.79 in the month of April, which came down to 7.04%, further came down to 7.01%, and now 6.71%. So 3 months in a row, the inflation has come down. So is this a trend, or it's just a flash in the pan? Okay, and that's, I think, the question most of the economists and fund managers are struggling. See, I must tell you, there are many experts, they may not agree with my point of view, and it's fine. In life, not necessarily everyone should agree with your point of view. There should be a healthy debate. And what is this reason for some of this inflation to start coming down? I think central banks across the world have started hiking the rate of interest to curb the inflation. So this is again strong correlation. To curb inflation, you hike the rate of interest so that it cools down the pull down the prices. You Fed, after many times, consistently saying Jerome Powell transient. Ultimately, on 16th March, bit the bullet and said, okay, I am hiking the rate of interest by 25 pips. It further increased to 50 pips on 4th May, and last two hike has been very severe, 75 bips. Not in a long history of US, we have seen two rate hike of 70 bips each. So that shows the Fed eagerness to fight the inflation. Their comfort level is 2%. They're still in excess of 8%. So you can imagine there are three more Fed meeting is going to happen in this year 2022. First one is on 21st September, where we do expect 50 bips rate hike. On 2nd November, 25 bips rate hike, and 14 December, 25 bips rate hike. Of course, these numbers can undergo it. We can revise our estimate, but this is what is expected from the US. But what happened in the India? India, RBI also went a little aggressive. Just before US, that is on 4th May, this one, RBI hike rate of interest out of monetary policy. Before, normally the rate hike happens during the when at the MPC meetings, am I right? They did it just to preempt US rate hike by 40 bips. They did on 50 bips on 8th July, and this month another 50 bips, 1.4% rate hike. On 30th September, when the RBI will meet, we do expect another 35 to 50 bips rate hike. So you may wonder what happens then. उसके बाद क्या MPC meeting नहीं है क्या है? But we don't expect a rate hike to be there post 30th September. And I'll tell you why. We believe that there will not be any rate hike. I'll come to that. Okay. The reason we believe that RBI will not do more rate hikes post September 2022 is this. The price of crude oil started coming down. $120 now at 92. This is today's price. And there is a fair possibility that by October 2022, we may see crude somewhere in the region of 80, bringing down somewhere here this level. Okay, if you look at the OPEC production, which they came out with the statement that there could be more production than the demand because the world is slowing down. Second thing, it's not only the crude which is coming down. If you look at copper, very close to 5 USD dollar per LBS has come down to 3.67. Of course, it has moved up a little bit from here, but it's substantially moved down. Can you see this graph? It has clearly moved down very significantly. But not the copper is this. If you look at the steel, which was near about 591, is coming down to 4135. That's another way to look at it. And look at this one, aluminum. Again, trajectory has been down. So now these are all factors for the inflation, whether it was a industrial metal, crude oil, and I did mention about heat wave and the drought condition. And the good news is that this is not a data that many fund managers or analysts or economists look at it, but I do look at it and this data. The food price index from FAO, that's a United Nations organization which basically track the prices of agricultural produce. After touching 159.7 in the month of March, it has come down to 140 for the month of July 2022. 4 months in a row, it has declined. And I think it's a very substantial. If you look at it, it was constantly going up. Can you see? So this trajectory, so we saw crude oil price coming down. And see, remember, India imports food. India imports inflation. Why? Because crude oil we import. And when the rupee depreciates against the dollar, our impact on the inflation is further get amplified. Am I right? And when the crude goes down, it's a big relief for this. And so is the case with metals and industrial metals and so on and so forth. So I think this is a very, if you remember, even the price of some of the edible oils have went up substantially. And if you listen to what is the story of Marico, you will get to realize that how, and even the Hindustan Unilever, they do consume some of the oil to manufacture bath soap and other things, which really impacted this one. That's also started coming down. So it's a very good thing in terms of food inflation also. Now, this is a very interesting data. And again, this is not a data that many people track it, but I do track it. If you really want to find out now what could be the inflation trajectory, you should look at the expectation of inflation. Why I'm saying expectation of inflation? Okay, let me give you an example in the stock market parlance. Suppose if you think market is going to go up, what would you do? You would buy more of that. Assume that you expect market to go down, what would you do? You would tend to book profit or book loss as the case may be. Am I right? Now, imagine same thing is happening on the inflation. If you expect inflation to go up, what would you do? You would try to buy more of the same goods now. Why? Because you can beat the inflation. I'll give a classical example. I was talking to one CEO of a company, and he said, Sunil, I bought dollar because my son is going for a abroad. So he said, because I expect rupee to depreciate, so he bought dollar. Had he not expecting the dollar to go appreciate against the rupee, he would not have bought it. Am I right? So that further aggravate the pressure on the rupee because more people will buy that dollar. Am I right? Same way, if you think that inflation is going to go down, you would not be in a hurry to buy. Why? Because they बाद में ले लेंगे क्या जल्दी है. But the moment you feel that inflation is going to go up, you are in a rush to buy more of a same product. It's like shortage. अगर किसी ने बोल दिया कि this product is going to be off the shelf, what would happen? You will tend to buy more of the same quantity. Why? Because you will start hoarding it so that you don't run into a problem. And that's why inflation expectation is a very key determinant to understand what will be the trajectory of the inflation. This is for the US I'm talking about. What has happened in the US, the Indian inflation expectation for 1 year has come down to 6.2% from 6.8% of June, which is a very good thing. Which is a very good thing. Why? Because what happens? Then your tendency, I will give another classical example, which will people will talk about it in the future, but I'm doing it now. So today, in US, there's a lot of shortage of labor. Am I right? But I also believe that because there was a shortage of labors in the US, many corporates have gone over the board. And even if they need only one employee, they have started hiring two employees, thinking that if they make offer for two or if they open the vacancy for two, at least one will join. And hence, in future, they don't run into a problem. If you remember what is happening with Bed Bath and Beyond or Walmart or Target, in anticipation of more demand, they started buying more and more products. And ultimately, demand was not as high as they were expecting it. And what happened? There's a huge inventory. Now they started offering discounts. So if you are living in US, you would relate to what I'm saying. Something similar can also happen with the employment front in the US, where people seems to be going a little overboard. So I'll give you a classical example, Markets Mojo. We were not getting many tech employees when we were working from home. So what was the mandate we gave to our HR team? हमको 10 चाहिए ना, हमको 5 चाहिए, बोला 10 का चालू कर दो रिक्रूटमेंट, because we know that 5 will not join even if we give them the offer. That's what we started doing it. And that's what happens. So this is what the human tendency. The inflation expectation in the US had started coming down, which is a very good thing to happen. RBI own inflation trajectory, they believe that by Q1 of FY 2024, they expect inflation to be at 5%. And we are at what? We are in excess of 7 couple of months back. Now we are talking about 5% this one. Now there is a strong possibility that this will further go down. Why? Because the RBI has estimated the crude basket at $105 per barrel. Am I right? And today the crude is below $100 per barrel. And hence these numbers can further come down. So I'll give you my estimate also. When do I? But anyway, what RBI says in Q3, the inflation would be 6.4%. That is September to December 2022. And in quarter 4, 5.8%, which will further come down to 5% by April to June 2023. These numbers normally get revised. So what I've done, I've taken the numbers from Feb. This is RBI prediction, April, June, and August. And how RBI kept revising upward or downward their inflation numbers, and hence these numbers will get revised. And I do believe these numbers will get revised downward instead of upward. So if you look at it from Feb to April, the inflation number went up. Am I right? From April to June, inflation number further went up. Okay. And from June to August, it's same. It has come down a little bit. It has gone up a little bit and it's remained same. Am I right? Now, the next September, I think RBI would revise it little downward, these numbers. But wait and watch. So, I strongly believe, now I'm coming to the, I'm answering the question now. Is it peaked? Yes. Inflation in India has seen the worst of it. I again repeat, inflation in India has seen the worst of it. From this level, the way we saw inflation coming down here, it should keep moving down further. So this is not a temporary relief. I do believe this relief is more sustainable as far as India is concerned. This is for India. I'll come to the US also. Why am I saying so now? There has to be reasoning, am I right? Gut feeling पे तो काम चलता नहीं है. The world economy is slowing down, and that will reduce demand. And when the demand reduces, what happens? The prices normally tends to go soft, which we have seen with crude oil prices, we have seen with copper, steel, aluminum, and for this one, so on and so forth. And that will keep. See, remember, India imports inflation. Why? Because we import this commodity. I do believe rupee is unlikely to fall from this level now further. That will another relief for Indian economy. RBI has done a wonderful job. In fact, I personally believe our RBI has been really needs a lot of accolades and compliment the way they manage the economy and the way they manage the inflation and so on and so forth. I think they did brilliant job. You know, sometimes we don't appreciate that fact. And I think RBI 140 basis rate hike also helped to curb the inflation. Now, India, fortunately, except that northeastern part where the paddy production could be at risk, but overall monsoon is good and food grain production has to be likely to remain very good, and that will keep the food inflation under check. So I do believe that by November 2022, India will have inflation less than 5.5%. RBI comfort level is 2 to 4% plus or minus 2. So as long as it remains under 6, I think RBI would be very happy to have the inflation and do expect the inflation to come down to 5.5%. Why? Softening of commodity prices, softening of food prices. Rupee has done with its downfall. If at all, in fact, rupee can strengthen. If that happens, our landed cost of crude will improve further. And RBI policy action has really helped to curb the inflation. But we don't expect something similar to happen with the developed world. Why? Because see, the developed world, and in fact, you know, today I went to one of the general stores, you know, just wanted to inquire with him. And I asked him, and previously 90% of the items he used to keep was Chinese. And I think I would request every one of you to also go and find out this stationery में जो gift बेचते हैं ना, toys and everything. So I asked him, अभी कितना है चाइना का माल? बोलता है साहब ये बहुत कम हो गया. And if Modi government support us, I think everything would be made in India. Okay, a lot of toys now are made in India. They are not getting imported from China, and it's come as a very. In fact, I distinctly recollect even the flag that we used to buy was imported from China. Am I right? You could have seen that. No longer the case. At least the place where I inquired, it was not the case. So that's a good thing for India. But I think the world is moving away from China plus one strategy. And China has helped to keep the good prices very, very low. Now it's very difficult to have the same kind of economies of scale which China had, which keep the prices low. So I think it's not easy. It will happen eventually, but it's a work in progress and it's not happen in an immediate manner. Second thing, climatic conditions are going to remain very, very erratic, whether we like it or not. And that could further put food inflation. Now, fortunately for India, India is self-sufficient in terms of food items. On the contrary, India could also get an opportunity to export food items. If you remember, we allowed sugar to export it. Why? Because the prices of sugar were a little elevated level and that related some of our sugar companies. We did export some wheat and so on and so forth. So India could get benefit rather than at the receiving end. So right now, no one is talking about the green energy. Why? Because we have seen some of the mothball coal power plant has been started. Why? Because there's energy crisis. But it's not going to remain forever. And world will have to move towards a green energy, which has a green inflation coming in, where to produce the same amount of energy, you need to spend more. And if you spend more, it will translate into a more inflation. So I do believe that while I was saying that last 40 years, while the emerging economies enjoyed in fact, the developed economy enjoyed the low inflation, emerging economy had to struggle with the higher inflation. I believe this trend may undergo change. While the developed economy may see more persistent inflation kind of stuff, but country like India will have a very low inflation kind of stuff. And it's a very happy news to that. Why am I saying so? Because if inflation is low, it's good for the equity investors. Why? Because if inflation is low, the rate of interest is low. If the rate of interest is low, then PE, the equity can enjoy the premium versus the bond yield. That's what comes in. Am I right? And that's a very happy news for the equity investors. Now there is a risk to our prediction. Two things. One is the crude oil price. If that start again moving up, India being an importer of inflation, it will get impact. Am I right? And for some reason, if the food grade production is not as high as what we believe so, then it could disturb the equation. These are the two major risks to our prediction of falling inflation rate. Just before I conclude, just to reminder that we have a biggest Azadi offer as I speak to you, 19,999 for 2 years, which comes with additional 6 months extra. Massive discount of 50%. This is the last chance in a Mojo professional service to get model portfolio and portfolio optimizer. Last chance. It's a very limited period offer. And I would request everyone to please avail, please don't embarrass us asking, can I get this? And please note that this is offer is exclusively only for the webinar users. It's not available for anyone else. Okay. Since you're attending this webinar, it's available for you. On our website also, you will not get this offer. You can extend as many times as possible. There is no restriction on that. But before I open the floor, we all know Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is no more with us. One of the finest investor, one of the finest trader, India lost a true legend and a big bull. I'm lucky to have interaction with him on many occasions. And I'll tell you one classical example that I had with him. I called Rakesh and said, Rakesh, I want to come and meet you for the interview of my previous organization of the Lal Street. And he said, sorry, nahi. He said no to me. And after 10 or 15 seconds, again on my, he called me back. So they said, let's meet. And that's the kind of person he was. I met him in his office on a couple of occasions, which had a very small office, and even the tea would come from the bhat, we call it, the guy who basically makes only tea stall wale se, in that cup, in the glass, wo chai usme serve hota tha. Very small office he used to work from. And then I met him in his Nariman point office. My last meeting with him was when I attended the reception of Ramdev Agarwal's son at Hayat at Santa Cruz. And that is the last time I met him. And then COVID hit us and I could not meet him. But I think the na bhuto na bhavishyato, like there could be only one Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. There cannot be any other Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. In my career, I am not seen a person could be a good investor also and a good trader also. And he could basically do both these things par excellence. His understanding about the company, his understanding about the economy has been brilliant. Has been brilliant. I must tell you that. And this is one guy who always believed that India will grow. And he's not wrong. In fact, he's one guy who bet on Tata Group very heavily and believes strongly that Tata Group will do well, and that's been the case. He's one guy believed in investing in a small cap and to grow it and becoming a large cap and enjoy the benefit of that. One of his most successful example has been Titan and is a classical case study. And I distinctly recollect one interview where one of his colleague, Mr. Utpal Seth, when Utpal Seth was making a prediction about Titan, what could be growth of this company, so Rakesh Jhunjhunwala made a statement to him कि दारू मैं पीता हूँ और चलती तुझको है. Why? Because Utpal Seth was extremely bullish about the profit and top line and bottom line of Titan. And Rakesh and Utpal Seth went to Titan management and said this is what they believe. And even Titan management did not believe that they could achieve so much. And eventually they did overshoot the number that Rakesh team basically presented. So that kind of a visionary he was, always extremely bullish. He knew how to pick up right company at the right time and enjoy wealth. He was a chartered accountant. His father worked as a government employee, and he used to live the family used to live in a government provided accommodation. And today, this guy is not alive, but his family would move to one of the costliest house, the building, I would say so, at Malabar Hill. And the wealth he has created is a cool, inspirational story that how one can create wealth from the equity market if you are disciplined and the patience. And there are two things that every one of us need to learn from him is to have patience and the discipline. And number three, if I were to add to that, is the faith in India's growth story. So with this, let's open the floor for question answer. Over to you, Adrian.
Yeah. The first question is from Mr. Rakesh. Sunil sir, good evening. I have GAIL in my model portfolio and it's substantially down. What is your take on the stock? Also, there is a final communication that they have approved the bonus share. And do you know when will this be credited in our demat account? Thank you for your continued support.
Yeah. So GAIL, we continue to believe should do well. Our investment committee has not taken a call on the removing this. We believe that it should remain as a part of the what we call your portfolio. So we are not. As far as the record date for bonus, it's not been. I don't think it has been announced yet. So my request to you, they will announce you, and it will get credited to automatically to your bank account. Sorry, your demat account. I stand corrected. Or it will get automatically get credited to your demat account. So that's what would happen. So please wait for some more time. They would announce the date for that.
Okay. The next question, Sunil, is from Mr. Srinivasan. Hi, Sunil. I'm a Mojo professional member having a model portfolio and a personal portfolio of around 5.5 lakhs. After expiry of membership, can I switch over to Infinity model portfolio? If my portfolio is less than 10 lakh, will I be eligible for Infinity model portfolio? Can you please clarify on that?
Yes, sir. Model portfolio, you will definitely be eligible even with less than 10 lakhs. But I think the minimum amount would be 5 lakhs if my memory serves me right. But you look at this way, suppose it is 5 lakhs and you pay 2% on that, which works out to 10,000 rupees per annum. Today, you are getting an offer which is 20,000 rupees for 30 months. So what would happen? Suppose assume that you have a 5 lakhs portfolio. You will keep paying 10,000 every year. So that would work out to for 30 months, 25,000, against which you are getting a 20,000 for 30 months. And second thing, not only that, we will all have all the benefits, all the features of Mojo Professional. So if I would be in your place, I would rather basically avail this offer and extend my subscription. But the choice is yours. I distinctly, we got one request from one of our members. His son, he wanted to for his son to be a part of Mojo Professional, and I've been informed that his son wants to extend for next 20 years. So he's not a member right now, but he wants to become a member for 20 years so that he can lock in his price of 19,999 for 30 years. That's a very smart move to do. I would suggest something similar to you also, but the choice is yours, sir.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Alok Singh. Mr. Sunil, I'm a Markets Mojo professional member till 2033. Is there any mobile app also for Mojo Infinity? As I didn't get any info on this.
So we do have a mobile app, sir. So you can download both for the iOS and Android. We have a mobile app. So my request to you, please download that, and you should be able to enjoy the same on your mobile also.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Usman. Dear Sunil sir, kindly comment on the recent quarterly result of BDL and Voltam. In both the cases, revenue and profit are drastically down, but Mojo score for both are above 70.
Sir, BDLC, remember BDL is a what we call it's a defense company, and normally the numbers of March 2022 will always be higher. Historically, आप देख लीजिए उसका. So even in 2020 it was with the same. In March 2021 the same, and for March 2022 also is with the same. So when you compare with this, it will always be quarter on quarter you will see. But if you look at Y on Y, then you would see a huge jump. June versus June. If you look at it, there is a huge jump on BDL numbers. So so don't get and you should never compare any defense company quarter on quarter. That's what my request to you. So don't do that. If you look at the same way, Voltemp also, both quarter and quarter, there is a jump in top line also, and there is a jump in the even if you look at the operating profit margin, which was near about 4% increase to near about 13% or so, and the profit also increased, and almost 16 crore has become 27, 28 crore kind of a stuff. So again, so my request, sometimes you do get concerned about the quarter and quarter, but March is normally the best quarter for India Inc. Remember, I again repeat, March is the best quarter for India Inc. because a lot of people have a lot of targets to achieve, and that's why they push little hard in the March quarter. And first quarter is always been the little what we call soft quarter. Why? Because a lot of efforts would have gone to close the March quarter. Then people will make the projections for the this financial year, the next financial year, and the activity normally remains a little slow. That's what happened. So if you remember, even RBI says easy season and busy season. Easy season is always the first half. Busy season is always the second half. So that also explained, and some kind of a trend we also see with this. So I would suggest June numbers always compared Y on Y, then it's compared to quarter on quarter. But as far as IT companies are concerned, you should always compare quarter on quarter. I hope, Usman, that clarifies all your doubt.
Yeah. The next question is from Mr. Rajiv Fatke. Sunil Bhai, I am a Mojo professional member and also a soul and a power investor. Currently, I am investing through two DMAT accounts. I want to know how PMS service will working with these two DMAT accounts. Please advise.
So in the PMS, as and when we launch, the DMAT account will be with us. So we will have a custodial because then we will have a DMAT account, and we will manage through that DMAT account your buying and selling. So even if you have two DMAT account, this DMAT account will be separate over and above that two DMAT account. And once we launch Fatke sir, we'll explain you how this will work, how it works, and everything we'll explain in detail through our webinars. You don't have to worry about it. We are still near about 6 months away from launching our PMS service, sir.
The next question is from Mr. Karthik. If we pay 2% for model portfolio under Mojo Infinity, should we execute the trade ourselves or your team will do it on our behalf?
No, sir. Right now, we have to do execute on your own, and we have integrated with small case where some of the leading brokers are also part of it. So when you go to click on that button, it will go to your broker side. You will execute the trade, and again it will come back and send us a data that we've executed. But that right now under Mojo Infinity, you are supposed to execute the trade. Once we launch the PMS, then we will execute the trade. You don't have to worry about the execution of the trade.
The next question is from Mr. Kevin Patrav. Good evening, Sunil. Wish you and the entire team at Markets Mojo a happy Independence Day in advance. Can I know what is the current AUM of Markets Mojo as of today?
Sir, why do you want to know that? Is this the information we should disclose to you people? I'm not very sure. I don't know. I need to take permission from my compliance team to do that. So we are not obliged or obligated by law to disclose that. So I would not be. But I must tell you, so I'll give you some hints so you people can understand. When we launch PMS, we would be among the top 5 PMS in the country in terms of assets under management. So Kevin ji, I hope that will give you some color on where we are right now in terms of assets under management. So you will get of course, it's asset under advisory as we speak. But when we launch it, we will be among top 5. So now you make your own guess, and you will get a clarity of where do we stand as we speak.
Okay. Next, Sunil, is an appreciation message from Mr. Virender. Good evening, sir. I'm very much thankful to you and Mohit, sir. May God bless you and Mohit, sir, along with the entire Mojo team, a very long, healthy life and provide you energy to keep shining and enable you all working throughout your entire life.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for your compliments, sir. Thanks a lot for your wishes and good health. We also pray to the God that we have good health, because ultimately health is the wealth. And that's what we want to do it. But let me tell you, rest assure you that our mission is to educate each and every retail investors and make retail investors HNI investors. And we are not going to leave a single stone unturned in that our mission to do that. This is the Market Mojo is the only platform. You know, when I was talking to a lot of HNI investors now do come to our office, taking our advice on how they should go about doing it. And someone would fly down all the way from various parts of the country just to meet us and go back. And he's the one common thing that everyone appreciated with us is that we are the only platform in the country who comes in front of the investors every day. They said some fund managers are so arrogant. If you have spoken to them, they would meet us maybe once a quarter or once in 6 months, or sometimes they even refuse. And the moment we ask them hard questions, they get irritated. Okay, but your Market Mojo is the only platform which will come daily in front of us, guide us, help us, control our emotions, and force us, help us not to do things which is against our interest. And that's why, so I think there's a big distinction between Markets Mojo, the distinctive feature with Markets Mojo versus other fund managers. And we'll keep doing that, sir, come what may. It's not only Mohit and I that basically, but everyone at Markets Mojo have the same philosophy. How we can create retail investors, how do we make retail investors and HNI investors? And we will keep improving our product, we will keep improving our IP, we'll keep improving our services to bring delight to our investors. Thanks a lot, sir, for the compliment and the wishes.
The next question is from Mr. Champak. Sunil sir, can you speak something about about late Rakesh Jhunjhunwala sir and his ideologies on investment? Do you also follow his ideologies on trading as well as long-term investments?
So I think, as I told you, there cannot be any other Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. And I think what he clearly brings out with him is ability to read the business prospects. He would always bet on the management. Like he bet on the concept of Titan. See, at that point of time, who would have thought that Titan could be a large cap company, jewelry, which was more of an unorganized dominated. People thought दो नंबर में तो ज्वेलरी लेते हैं कौन ऑफिशियली में, बिकॉज व्हेन यू गो टू टाइटन यू आर सपोज टू पे इन चेक, यू आर सपोज टू पे in white, am I right? And jewelry business is all most of the time दो नंबर का. You know, we will give you estimate वाला bill and you don't have to pay the GST, sales tax and so and so. But Rakesh Jhunjhunwala realized what could be the potential of that company. He will go very deep into the company, understand the business model, and he will invest in that. And that's the beauty about him. Second thing, I think he was extremely bullish. Market sentiment did not impact him. To be mandi aaye, teji aaye, I think he has always been, remained calm and composed. He never lost faith in India's growth story. While some of our retail investors will get panic, अगर अभी जो मार्केट में जो मंदी आई लास्ट 6-7 महीने में, a lot of you people got हिल गए तुम लोग, अरे क्या हो गया, why my portfolio is down by 20%, 30%. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, he never, if you, not many people would be aware, for 8 or 9 years in a row, his total equity net worth portfolio remained the same. Did he lose patience? Did he lose faith in the equity investment? The answer is no. I think you need to have optimism. So if you are an equity investor, one common thing that we all need to learn from Rakesh ji is that be optimistic. Never be, पैसा कभी पेसिमिज्म होके बनता नहीं है. Optimism always will make money for you if you wish to really create wealth from the equity market. And that's what you should be doing it. Okay. So one great learning I have learned from Rakesh, and second thing is confidence on the growth of Indian economy. I think unparalleled. If you listen, and all many of his interviews are available on YouTube, the one common theme across all his interviews are extremely bullishness about the India's growth story. And I think we all of you of us are, many of us are skeptical. India में तो ये नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं है, वो है. But I think that's where the beauty is, am I right? That's where the potential is to improve and create wealth. And that's what Rakesh did it. I think he's a brilliant investor, brilliant trader, and I was lucky to have interacted with him, on few occasions. And I distinctly recollect one statement that he made. So in one of the events, which where Rakesh was a speaker and I was one of the participants, and he said someone asked him about FIS, and he used the word for the FIS, "Bandar kya jane adrak ka swad." He said India's में जो growth story Indian investors से आने वाले, and that he made this statement many years back, and which is coming true, where retail investors are giving equal tough fight to the FII. Had retail investors and not kept pumping money in the Indian equity market, Indian market would have underperformed significantly as compared to US market. But this is the time while FIS sold very happily and Indian equity market outperformed the US market. And that kind of vision he had at that point of time. So true legend, and we all need to, if you wish to really create wealth out of equity market. See, remember, he created huge wealth from the equity market. If you remember, if you happen to listen to his story, he borrowed money to invest in the equity market from his friends and this one, because he believed very strongly. I would not advise everyone to do that, because those days when he started, the market situation was different, and the scenario was different. But conviction, strong conviction of what you are doing, make research as your friend, have a discipline when you invest, and have patience.